Mod Vegans and Vegan Curious, it's Margaret and welcome back to Mod Vegan. Today on Mod Vegan, I want to talk with you about Catherine Price's book, Vitamania. It's a fantastic book and I think it's something that everyone should read, especially every vegan, so let's get to it. But first, if you enjoyed this review, please be sure and give it a thumbs up and also subscribe so you don't miss another great video like this one. I really enjoyed Vitamania. I got it from my local library. If you can get it from your library as well, I'd recommend you getting it there. Otherwise, I've got a link in the description box below. But I really enjoyed this book. I listened to it in audiobook format, and it was one of those summer reads that I just thought was something I needed to share with you guys because it was so informative, it was so well done, it's comprehensive, it's skeptical, it's everything that I enjoy in books, and I think it's something that if you like nutrition, and I'm pretty sure that if you're on this channel, you probably do, it's something that will benefit you a lot. So I can't recommend it highly enough. I thought it was a really well done book. Catherine Price is a journalist. She specializes in nutrition, but she also is someone who was diagnosed with diabetes when she was 22 years old. So she, and with type 1 diabetes as well. So she's someone who really cares about this. She's really interested in nutrition, and she wanted to know about the history of vitamins. And it is a fascinating history. A lot of us don't know because we're coming from the 21st century here. But before the discovery of vitamins, life was pretty bleak. There were a lot of problems that people had because we didn't know about vitamins. And at the time that vitamins were discovered, they were miraculous. And that's something that cannot be overstated. I mean, one of the reasons we have the vision of vitamins that we do today is because when we first discovered the impact of, say, vitamin C on scurvy or of thiamine on beriberi, diseases like that could be cured almost instantly through getting the vitamins that you needed. It's incredible, and I think she does a really good job unpacking the history of vitamins in this book, and she does also a good job of tempering some of the craze around vitamins that is available today, and especially in the natural supplement industry and some of those other industries. She really does a good job of kind of unpacking it, and I really appreciated her perspective on this. I think it's something that everyone could really enjoy. It's a well done book, and my favorite portions of the book were the ones that dealt with the history of vitamins. I was fascinated by the fact that it took us so long to discover and I didn't really know this, like how long it took for us to figure out that vitamin C was really behind scurvy, and realizing what a horror it was at sea for people to be dying because of lack of access to fresh fruits and vegetables, of lack of access to vitamin C, and the confusion that surrounded it, and also with beriberi and thiamine, perhaps even more. That was my favorite chapter in the book, was on beriberi, because what happened with beriberi is that people in the East had been turning rice into white rice for many years, but they hadn't been doing it as efficiently as they were able to do after colonists brought in this equipment that could polish rice much more efficiently. So when you polish rice, it removes thiamine and it produces, white rice, which is delicious and fluffy and light, and everyone loves it. But they were able to do it a lot more efficiently, and through that efficiency, what they were doing was actually removing all of the thiamine and other important nutrients that were in the rice, and it was making people extremely ill. And there's all these stories of, colonists who are watching people drop like flies and wondering what was going on. A lot of the times, the white European colonists weren't actually getting beriberi because they didn't eat as much white rice as the rest of the population did. They were eating other foods, and so they were just kind of witnessing this happening and wondering what was causing it. And some of them were effective as well, and it's really amazing how long it took for people to figure out what was going on, but also how they mistook it so easily for other problems, and that was due to the craze at the time for germ theory. And today we know that germs cause a lot of illnesses. But at the time when beriberi was an illness, and beriberi is a horrible, deadly illness that happens with thiamine deficiency, where people, would develop swollen extremities and all sorts of issues with their blood and their hearts and horrible stuff. But they were dropping like flies, they were dying because they didn't have this important vitamin, and they were confused because they thought that it was actually caused by a germ. Because at the time, they just discovered germs, and so everything was a germ problem. And if there's one thing that I took away from this book, it was that when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. When you have something like germ theory, you believe everything is caused by germs, and you just need to find the germ and then you can solve the problem. And of course, we know now that with vitamin deficiencies, that wasn't the case. There are some illnesses, obviously, that are caused by vitamin deficiency and not necessarily by germs, and that was a huge hurdle for scientists to overcome, because so many of them were unwilling to believe that anything other than germ could be causing these horrible illnesses. So that was fascinating. Those chapters are fantastic. Recommend them for anyone, because they really cause you to, I think, and one of the things she really wants to do in this book is to make you challenge your own presuppositions, our own current belief that extra vitamins will make you extra healthy. That is something that has been created culturally, just like the germ theory made people see everything through the lens of germ theory rather than investigating the idea that perhaps germs weren't behind every illness known to man. So I thought that was particularly fascinating. I also really enjoyed the chapter on vitamin A. I thought that was fascinating. Vitamin A, beta carotene, is what we find in plants, but vitamin A is what you find in animal foods, and it prevents all sorts of horrible ramifications of vitamin A deficiency, which can be really, really deadly, terrible, causes night blindness in a lot of developing nations even today, causes death, causes all sorts of problems, and permanent blindness for people because of vitamin A deficiency. And it was really interesting to read. I enjoyed that particularly because as a vegan, we constantly get questioned about vitamin A. If you get into more important conversations with people about the consequences of a vegan diet, you probably will end up discussing vitamin A sooner or later. She does that in the book very well. She talks about beta carotene. She talks about some of the genetically modified strains of rice that are now including beta carotene to try and address some of the problems of vitamin A deficiency in the developing world through plant sources. But obviously animal sources are a more immediate, an immediate source of vitamin A. However, you can get vitamin A through beta carotene. It's just that the conversion factor is much higher than what most people assume. You need a lot more fresh fruits and vegetables to make up for the fact that you're not getting vitamin A for animal products. And that's true. And I thought that was quite interesting in the book. It really made me think personally about how much vitamin A, making sure that I get my kids more of those whole foods that contain a lot of vitamin A. And that's another strength of the book. She really looks at putting whole foods in the hands of people, how much that impacts their health, how important it is, and also some of the challenges of vitamin supplementation. Vitamin supplementation can be life-saving in the case of, people who are, for example, going blind because of vitamin A deficiency. A vitamin A supplement can cure them in a matter of days, which is incredible. It can reverse blindness that they may have been experiencing for some time. And that's truly transformative and amazing, but far better to address that early on with diet rather than thinking of vitamins as this cure-all. She really picks apart the idea that we just need vitamins and then we will all be perfectly healthy. She looks at that from a very well-researched scientific perspective, looks at the supplement industry, looks at some of the dangers of the supplement industry. And I think one of the giant takeaways that I got from this book is that a whole foods, plant-based diet is the best way to make sure that you're getting all of your vitamins as long as it's balanced and everything like that. That is a really good way of making sure that you have a healthy exposure to all the vitamins you need. And she really also looks into some of the ideas about micronutrients, phytonutrients, all those kind of smaller nutrients that we may not even understand yet. And it really did open my mind a bit to some of those ideas, because there are a lot of nutrients that we don't really understand yet, that we know we're getting in whole foods, but we don't know when we just simply take a vitamin pill if that's really getting us all of the nutrients that we need. So that part of it is extremely interesting. I'd highly recommend the book for that alone. And what I'd like to ask you guys is, what is your perspective on this? Have any of you read Vitamania? If you haven't, please do. It's really a fantastic book. But what do you think of whole foods? Do you think that supplements are the way to go? She explores the history of supplements and of legislation surrounding supplements, some of the dangers that we have from having free access to pretty much unlimited dosages of vitamins that can make some people extremely ill. Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think? Anyway, I would strongly recommend this book. I thought it was fantastic, especially for someone who eats a plant-based diet. It's a really good way of kind of reaffirming your own scientific education regarding vitamins and things like that. I really enjoyed it. I think she takes a perspective that I really enjoyed. I wouldn't say it's a vegan perspective necessarily, but she certainly advocates for whole foods rather than vitamins themselves, because even though vitamins are miraculous in some cases, and she had one great, my favorite anecdote from the book was about in World War II, they really played up the importance of vitamins in World War II, because the Nazis and the Allied forces were both working on trying to create super soldiers and things like this, and the British soldiers were really advertising this campaign of the importance of carrots, telling everyone that they needed to eat carrots because they caused this amazing night vision that made people such amazing soldiers. And it turned out that the reason why they were telling everyone that the British soldiers were so good at night vision, like they were saying that carrots were responsible for this, but actually it was because they just invented radar and they didn't want the Nazis to know that they'd already invented radar, and that was actually the reason why their soldiers were so good at seeing at night. It was because they had the power of radar, not necessarily because they were eating lots of carrots. So I thought that was a really funny story. And it really just, it highlights the fact that vitamins are great, but they're not everything, and we sometimes need to take a more skeptical approach, which I'm all about. I'm all about being a bit more skeptical. Yes, vitamins are great. Yes, whole foods are great, but it's important to also never feel that you know everything. And that's my real big takeaway for this, is that, you never know everything. It's always good to learn, and you should never be too confident in what you know, whether that's germ theory, whether that's vitamins, whether that's anything. It's really important to keep questioning, to keep searching for those answers. And anyway, highly recommend Vitamania by Catherine Price. If you can get it through your library, do so. If you are not able to, please click on the link below. It has a link to Amazon where you can find the book. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'd love to see you in my next video, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Take care. Bye.